There's a man sitting beside my bed. His eyes are red-rimmed and exhausted. His hand wrapped around mine like I'm the only thing keeping him tethered to this earth. He's looking at me with such desperate hope, such raw, unfiltered love, that it makes my chest ache. And I have absolutely no idea who he is. He says his name is Daniel. He says we've been married for 8 years. He says those two small faces peeking through the doorway, those wide-eyed children clutching stuffed animals and looking at me like I'm their entire world, he says they're mine, my babies, my family. But when I search my memory, when I dig through the fog in my mind for any recognition, any spark of familiarity, there's nothing. Just a vast, terrifying emptiness where 10 years of my life used to be. The last thing I remember, I was 24 years old. I was living in a cramped studio apartment in Brooklyn, working as a junior graphic designer, eating ramen for dinner 4 nights a week, and wondering if I'd ever figure out this whole adult life thing. I was single, I was struggling, I was me. Now I'm 34, and apparently I'm someone completely different. This is the story of how I woke up to a life I didn't recognize, how a stranger became my husband all over again, and how I learned that sometimes love isn't just about remembering, it's about choosing every single day to fall again. But before we dive into this journey, if emotional true stories like this touch your heart, please hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. This story gets incredibly raw and real, and your support means everything. Now, let me take you back to the beginning. The first thing I noticed was the light. Not the soft, golden light of morning through bedroom curtains, but the harsh, clinical brightness of fluorescent bulbs. The second thing was the smell. That distinctive hospital cocktail of antiseptic, recycled air, and something vaguely medicinal that coated the back of my throat. My body felt wrong, heavy, like I was wearing someone else's skin and it didn't quite fit. My mouth was desert dry, my throat raw. When I tried to move my fingers, they responded sluggishly, as if the signals from my brain had to travel through molasses to reach them. "She's waking up." The voice came from somewhere to my left, male, deep, trembling with an emotion I couldn't quite place. "Oh God, she's actually waking up. Nurse, doctor, she's..." I tried to open my eyes fully, but the light stabbed into my skull. I managed to squint, and shapes began to form. A face hovered above me. Dark hair, slightly disheveled. Eyes, blue or maybe gray, I couldn't tell, swimming with tears. A jaw covered in several days' worth of stubble. He looked like he hadn't slept in weeks. "Megan," he whispered, and his voice cracked on my name. "Megan, baby, can you hear me? It's me, it's Daniel." Daniel. The name meant nothing to me. I tried to speak, but only a hoarse croak emerged. "Don't try to talk yet," he said quickly, and suddenly his hand was on my forehead, brushing back hair I couldn't feel. You've had a breathing tube. Your throat's gonna be sore. God, just let me look at you. 3 weeks. 3 weeks I've been sitting here, wondering if I'd ever see your eyes open again." The room suddenly flooded with people, doctors and nurses, all moving with practiced efficiency. Someone shined a light in my eyes. Someone else asked me questions I could barely process. "Can you tell me your name? What year is it? Do you know where you are?" "Megan Mitchell," I managed to rasp out, though it felt like swallowing glass. "It's 2015? I'm in a hospital?" The silence that followed my answer was deafening. The doctor, a woman with kind eyes and silver-streaked hair, exchanged a glance with the man who'd called himself Daniel. Something passed between them, something that made his face crumble. "Megan," the doctor said gently, "I'm Dr. Reeves. You're in Mount Sinai Hospital. You were in a serious car accident 3 weeks ago. You've been in a medically induced coma while your brain healed from the trauma. Do you remember the accident?" I searched my memory. The last thing I could recall with any clarity was What? Walking to the subway? Working late at the design firm? Meeting my roommate Claire for drinks at that dive bar in Williamsburg? No, I whispered. I don't remember any accident. That's not uncommon with head trauma, Dr. Reeves said, her voice professionally soothing. The memories immediately before and during a traumatic event often don't form properly. But Megan, I need to ask you some more questions. Can you tell me what you do remember? What's the last clear memory you have? I closed my eyes, trying to grasp at the threads of my life. I, I'm a graphic designer, junior level. I work at a firm in Manhattan. I live in Brooklyn with my roommate. I paused, doing the math. I'm 24. I just turned 24 last month. My parents threw me a dinner party, and my mom made her famous lasagna, and my little brother gave me a succulent plant because he said I needed something living in my apartment. When I opened my eyes, the man, Daniel, had gone completely pale. His hand, which had been resting on the bed rail, was gripping it so tightly his knuckles had turned white. Megan, Dr. Reeves said carefully, what year do you think it is? 2015, I repeated. October 2015. Megan, she said, and I could hear the weight in her voice. It's October 2025. You're 34 years old. The words didn't make sense. They couldn't make sense. I was 24. I just turned 24. I just celebrated my birthday. That's not possible, I said, and I could hear the panic rising in my voice. That's not, I would remember. I would remember 10 years. That's not, Megan, breathe. Dr. Reeves moved closer, her hand on my shoulder. I know this is frightening. You're experiencing what we call retrograde amnesia. The trauma to your brain has affected your ability to access certain memories. This doesn't mean those memories are gone forever, but right now, you can't access them. 10 years, I whispered, and the enormity of it crashed over me like a wave. I've lost 10 years of my life. You haven't lost them, Daniel said suddenly, his voice rough with emotion. They're still there, Megan. We're still here. I'm still here. And I'm going to help you remember. Whatever it takes, however long it takes, I'm going to help you find your way back. I turned to look at him, really look at him, for the first time. He was handsome in a lived-in sort of way, with lines around his eyes that suggested he smiled often, though he wasn't smiling now. He was wearing a wrinkled button-down shirt and jeans, and there was a coffee stain on his collar. He looked absolutely devastated. Who are you? I asked, though I already knew the answer would shatter something. His face did something complicated, a twist of pain and love and desperate hope all tangled together. I'm your husband, he said softly. My name is Daniel Mitchell. We've been married for 8 years, and I love you more than anything in this world. I stared at him, at this stranger with tears in his eyes and my last name on his lips. I searched his face for any flicker of recognition, any spark of memory. But there was nothing, just a hollow, aching void where a decade of my life should have been. I'm sorry, I whispered, and I meant it with every fiber of my being. I'm so sorry, but I don't know you. I don't remember you at all. And as I watched this man, my husband, press his hand to his mouth to stifle a sob, I realized that waking up from the coma was just the beginning. The real nightmare was just starting. They brought the children to see me on my second day of consciousness. Dr. Reeves had wanted to wait longer, to give me more time to process the reality of my situation, but Daniel had advocated for it. They need to see their mom, I'd heard him say through the partially open door. And maybe seeing them will trigger something. I'd spent the previous day undergoing tests, MRIs, CT scans, cognitive assessments. The neurologist had explained that my hippocampus, the part of the brain responsible for forming and retrieving memories, had sustained significant trauma. The memories weren't necessarily gone, he'd said, but the pathways to access them were damaged. Like a library where all the books still existed, but someone had scrambled the card catalog. Sometimes memories return on their own, he'd told me. Sometimes they're triggered by familiar people, places, or experiences. And sometimes, he paused, choosing his words carefully, sometimes they don't come back at all. But that doesn't mean you can't form new memories and build new connections. The brain is remarkably adaptable. Now, as I watched the door open and two small figures appear, my heart began to race, not with recognition, but with pure, unadulterated terror. The older child was a girl, maybe 6 or 7 years old. She had Daniel's dark hair, but in long waves that cascaded past her shoulders, held back by a purple headband. She was clutching a worn stuffed rabbit to her chest, and her eyes, my eyes, I realized with a jolt, the same hazel green, were wide and uncertain. Behind her stood a boy, smaller, probably 4 or 5. He had lighter hair, more brown than black, and it stuck up in the back like he'd been sleeping on it. He was holding a toy truck in one hand and sucking his thumb with the other, something that made him look impossibly young and vulnerable. "Mommy?" the girl whispered, and the word hit me like a physical blow. I couldn't breathe. These children, these strangers, were calling me mommy. They'd grown inside my body. I'd given birth to them. I'd presumably spent years raising them, loving them, being their entire world. And I remembered none of it. "Hi," I managed, my voice barely above a whisper. "Hi, sweetheart." Daniel was standing behind them, his hands on their shoulders. "Sam," he said gently to the girl, "this is going to be a little different than we talked about, okay? Mommy is still getting better. She's still finding her way back to us." "You said she was awake," Sam said, and there was an edge of accusation in her voice. "You said she woke up." "I am awake," I said quickly, trying to inject warmth into my voice even as panic clawed at my chest. "I'm right here. I'm still a little confused from the accident. My brain got hurt, and I'm having trouble remembering some things." "What things?" Sam asked, taking a tentative step closer. "Do you remember my birthday party with the princess castle cake?" I looked helplessly at Daniel. He gave me a small, pained nod. "I'm sorry, baby," I said, and the endearment felt foreign on my tongue. "I don't remember that right now, but I bet it was beautiful. Do you like princesses?" Sam's face crumpled. "You always know I like princesses. You're the one who got me my Elsa dress. You're the one who reads me princess stories every night before bed. You," her voice broke. "You're my mommy. You're supposed to remember." "Sam," Daniel said softly, but she was already running from the room, her sobs echoing down the hallway. The little boy, I didn't even know his name, watched his sister go, then looked at me with enormous eyes. He pulled his thumb from his mouth. "Are you sick?" he asked simply. "Yeah," I said, grateful for his childlike simplicity. "Yeah, I'm sick, but I'm getting better." He considered this, then walked over to my bed with the fearless confidence of a child who'd never had reason to doubt his mother's love. He held up his truck. "This is Lightning," he said. "He's fast. Want to see?" And just like that, he began making engine noises and running the truck along the edge of my bed, narrating an elaborate story about a race. I watched him, this little boy who was mine, and felt tears sliding down my cheeks. Daniel moved closer, his hand finding mine. "That's Oliver," he said quietly. "Ollie. He just turned 4 last month. And Sam is 7. She's having a hard time understanding why you don't remember her. She's been so worried about you." "I'm sorry," I whispered, watching Ollie play, oblivious to my tears. "God, Daniel, I'm so sorry. I don't know how to be their mother. I don't know how to be your wife. I don't know how to be this person everyone expects me to be." "Then don't be," he said, and there was a fierce determination in his voice. "Don't try to be the Megan from before. Just be you. Be whoever you are right now. We'll figure out the rest." "But what if I never remember?" I asked, voicing the fear that had been gnawing at me since I'd woken up. "What if this it? What if I never get those 10 years back?" Daniel was quiet for a long moment, watching Ollie play. When he finally spoke, his voice was thick with emotion. Then we'll make new memories, he said, better ones. I'll tell you every story you've forgotten. I'll show you every photo, every video, every piece of evidence that this life is yours. And if that doesn't work, if you never remember falling in love with me the first time, he paused, meeting my eyes, then I'll just have to make you fall in love with me again. The certainty in his voice, the absolute conviction, should have been comforting. Instead, it terrified me. Because how could I fall in love with someone when I didn't even know who I was anymore? Mommy, look! Ollie held up his truck triumphantly. Lightning won! I forced a smile through my tears. That's wonderful, sweetheart. He beamed at me, then climbed up onto the bed, carefully avoiding my IV lines with the practiced ease of a child who'd done this before, and curled up against my side. Missed you, he mumbled into my hospital gown. My hand moved automatically to his hair, stroking it gently. And for just a moment, something flickered in my chest. Not a memory exactly, but a feeling, an instinct, a bone-deep recognition that this child was mine, even if my brain couldn't remember him. I missed you too, I said, and realized I meant it. Even though I couldn't remember him, I'd missed all of them. I'd missed all of them. This family I didn't know, this life I couldn't recall. I'd missed myself. Daniel brought the photo albums on my third day. 3 heavy books, their covers worn from handling, filled with a decade of memories I couldn't access. I thought, he said, setting them carefully on the rolling table beside my bed, Dr. Reeves said familiar images might help. And even if they don't trigger memories, at least you can see. You can see the life we built. I stared at the albums like they might bite me. I don't know if I'm ready. You don't have to be ready, he said gently, but I'm here. Whatever you feel, whatever questions you have, I'm here. With trembling hands, I opened the first album. The first page nearly took my breath away. It was a wedding photo, my wedding photo. I was wearing a simple but elegant white dress, my hair loose and wavy, with flowers tucked behind my ear. I was laughing at something, my head thrown back, pure joy radiating from every pixel. And Daniel, younger, without the lines around his eyes, was looking at me like I'd hung the moon. We got married in my parents' backyard, Daniel said softly, leaning closer to see what I was looking at. You said you didn't want anything fancy. You said you just wanted the people we loved, good food, and string lights in the trees. It rained that morning, and you cried because you thought it would ruin everything, but then it cleared up an hour before the ceremony. You said it was a sign. I traced the image of my younger self with one finger. I look happy. You were, he said, and there was something wistful in his voice. We both were. It was the best day of my life. You wrote your own vows. You promised to always steal my hoodies, to never let me buy another video game console without a fight, and to love me even when I was being an idiot, which you said would be often. Despite everything, I felt a smile tugging at my lips. That sounds like something I would say, or would have said. I don't know what tense to use anymore. Use whatever feels right, Daniel said. There's no rulebook for this. I turned the page. More wedding photos. Dancing, cutting the cake, kissing under those string lights. Then the album shifted to what looked like a honeymoon. Beaches, sunsets, and the two of us in swimsuits and sunglasses, looking tanned and carefree. Costa Rica, Daniel supplied. 2 weeks. You learned to surf. Well, you tried to learn to surf. You spent most of the time getting knocked over by waves and coming up laughing. You said it was the most fun you'd ever had failing at something. Page after page, year after year, a life unfolded before me. Moving into an apartment, our first place together, Daniel explained. Holiday celebrations. A photo of me holding a positive pregnancy test, my eyes wide with shock and excitement. Daniel's hand on my barely there baby bump. Sam, I whispered, touching the photo. Sam, Daniel confirmed. We'd only been married for a year. We weren't planning on kids yet, but then there she was. You were terrified. You kept saying you didn't know how to be a mom, that you were too young, too unprepared. But the moment she was born, he paused, his voice thick, the moment they put her in your arms,
You looked at her like she was the most precious thing in the universe. The next pages showed my pregnancy progression, my growing belly, the nursery we'd apparently painted together, soft purple walls, white furniture, those glow-in-the-dark stars on the ceiling. Then hospital photos, me exhausted and sweaty, holding a tiny red-faced newborn. The look on my face was something I'd never seen in any photo of myself before. Pure, overwhelming, transformative love. She had colic, Daniel said. Screamed for 3 months straight. You walked her around the apartment at 3 a.m., singing every song you could remember. You were exhausted, running on maybe 2 hours of sleep a night, but you never complained. You loved her through it. I couldn't speak. I just stared at this woman in the photos, this version of me who'd become a mother, who'd learned to navigate sleepless nights and dirty diapers and the terrifying responsibility of keeping another human alive. The album continued. Sam's first smile, first steps, first birthday, and then another pregnancy test, another baby bump. Ollie was planned, Daniel said. You said Sam needed a sibling. You said you'd grown up with your brother and couldn't imagine life without him, and you wanted that for her. Ollie's pregnancy was easier. You knew what to expect. And when he was born, Daniel smiled, a real smile for the first time since I'd woken up. When he was born, Sam was so excited to be a big sister. She wanted to hold him constantly. She still does. More pages, more years. Family photos at the beach, Christmas mornings with wrapping paper everywhere, Sam's first day of kindergarten, Ollie learning to walk, birthday parties and Halloween costumes, and ordinary Tuesday afternoons captured on camera. A life. A full, rich, beautiful life. And I remembered none of it. Daniel, I said, my voice breaking, who is this person? This woman in these photos? She's confident, she's capable, she's a mother, a wife, she has her life together. I don't know how to be her. You don't have to be her, Daniel said firmly, taking my hand. Megan, you need to understand something. The woman in these photos didn't spring into existence fully formed. She grew into that person. She learned. She struggled. She had days when she cried in the bathroom because she felt like she was failing at everything. She had moments of doubt and fear and uncertainty. But she had 10 years to figure it out, I protested. I'm starting from scratch. I'm supposed to be a mother to children I don't remember giving birth to. I'm supposed to be a wife to a man I don't remember marrying. How do I do that? How do I just step into this life and pretend I know what I'm doing? You don't pretend, Daniel said. You be honest, you be present. You try. That's all anyone can do, Megan, memory or no memory. I looked down at the albums, at this documented evidence of a decade I'd lost. Tell me about her, I said quietly. Tell me about the woman I was. Maybe if I know her, I can figure out how to be her again. Daniel was quiet for a long moment, his thumb absently stroking the back of my hand. When he spoke, his voice was soft, almost reverent. You are kind, he said, sometimes too kind. You'd give someone the shirt off your back if they needed it. You volunteer at Sam's school, helping kids who struggle with reading. You always stop to pet dogs on the street, even if we're running late. You cry at commercials, especially the ones with soldiers coming home to their families. I listened, trying to recognize myself in his words. You're creative, he continued. You still do graphic design, but freelance now, from home. You turned the spare bedroom into a studio. You're always doodling on napkins, seeing art in everything. You taught Sam to draw. She has your eye for color. You're stubborn, he said, and there was affection in his voice. God, you're stubborn. When you set your mind to something, there's no stopping you. You decided to run a 5K last year, even though you'd never been a runner. You trained for months. You came in nearly last, but you finished, and you were so proud of yourself. You're a terrible cook, he added, and I saw a hint of a smile. You burn everything. We joke that you could burn water, but you keep trying, and we love you for it. Ollie says your grilled cheese is his favorite, even though it's always a little charred. You sing in the shower, off-key. You steal my hoodies, just like you promised in your vows. You read before bed every night, mysteries mostly. You're obsessed with true crime podcasts. You have a terrible sense of direction and get lost even with GPS. You. His voice cracked, and he stopped, pressing his free hand to his eyes. You're my best friend, he whispered. You're the person I want to tell everything to. When something good happens, you're the first person I want to share it with. When something bad happens, you're the only person who can make it better. You're everything, Megan. You're everything to me, to Sam, to Ollie. You're the center of our world. Tears were streaming down my face now. I'm sorry, I sobbed. I'm so sorry I can't remember. I'm sorry I can't be that person for you right now. Hey, Daniel said, moving closer, carefully gathering me into his arms. You don't have to apologize. This isn't your fault. None of this is your fault. I cried into his shoulder. This stranger who wasn't a stranger. This man who knew me better than I knew myself. And as he held me, stroking my hair and murmuring soft reassurances, I felt something shift inside me. I didn't remember him. I didn't remember our life together, our wedding, our children. But in that moment, I felt safe. I felt held, not just physically, but emotionally. Like no matter how lost I was, he would be there to help me find my way. It wasn't love, not yet. But maybe it was the beginning of something. Maybe it was hope.
They discharged me from the hospital 2 weeks after I woke up. 2 weeks of physical therapy to rebuild muscles that had atrophied during my coma. 2 weeks of cognitive therapy to assess the extent of my memory loss. 2 weeks of living in a strange limbo, not quite a patient anymore, but not quite ready to return to a life I didn't remember. Dr. Reeves had been cautiously optimistic. Your brain is healing well, she told me during my final evaluation. The physical trauma has resolved. As for the memories, there's no way to predict if or when they'll return. Some patients recover everything within months. Others never do. But your ability to form new memories is intact, which is excellent news. You can build a life going forward, even if you can't access the past. Build a life, going forward, as if it were that simple. Now, as Daniel wheeled me toward the hospital exit, hospital policy, even though I could walk just fine, I felt my anxiety ratcheting up with every foot closer to those automatic doors. Beyond them was a world I didn't know, a life I couldn't remember, a home I'd never seen. Ready? Daniel asked, pausing just before the doors. No, I said honestly, but I don't think I'm going to get any readier. He squeezed my shoulder gently. One step at a time. That's all we have to do. Just one step at a time. The doors slid open, and autumn air rushed in, crisp and cool, carrying the scent of fallen leaves and that particular October smell that meant Halloween was coming. It was such a specific, visceral sensation that for a moment I was overwhelmed. How many Octobers had I missed? How many autumns had passed while I'd been living a life I couldn't remember? Sam and Ollie were waiting by the car, both bouncing with barely contained excitement. Sam had made a welcome home mommy sign, decorated with glitter and stickers. Mommy! Ollie shrieked, running toward me. You're all better! I'm getting better, I corrected gently, catching him as he launched himself at me. Still have some healing to do. We cleaned the house, Sam announced, holding up her sign proudly. Daddy said we had to make everything perfect for you. I cleaned my whole room, even under the bed. That's wonderful, sweetie, I said, and I was getting better at the endearments, at the tone of voice a mother should use. It still felt like playing a role, but I was learning my lines. The drive home was surreal. I watched the city pass by the window, streets I presumably knew, landmarks I'd supposedly seen hundreds of times. Daniel kept up a gentle narration. That's the coffee shop where we go on Saturday mornings. Ollie always gets a chocolate croissant. Sam likes the blueberry muffins. That's the park where we take the kids. There's a great playground. You and Sam like to feed the ducks. That's the grocery store. You always say you're just running in for milk and come out with $50 worth of stuff we don't need. I tried to absorb it all, to find some spark of recognition. But it was just a city, just streets and buildings and people going about their lives. Then we turned onto a tree-lined residential street, and Daniel slowed the car. We're here, he said softly.
I looked out at the house, a modest two-story with blue-gray siding and white trim. There was a small front yard with a maple tree blazing red and orange. A bike with training wheels lay on its side on the lawn. A wreath hung on the front door. It looked like a home. It looked like the kind of place where a family would live, where children would grow up, where love would flourish. It looked absolutely foreign to me. "Take your time," Daniel said, but Sam and Ollie were already out of the car, racing to the front door. I got out slowly, my legs still a bit unsteady. Daniel appeared at my side immediately, his hand hovering near my elbow, ready to catch me if I fell, but not quite touching, giving me space to do this myself. The walkway to the front door felt like a mile long. Every step was a step further into a life I didn't recognize, a role I didn't know how to play. Daniel unlocked the door, and Sam pushed it open dramatically. "Welcome home, Mommy!" I stepped inside. The house smelled like vanilla and cinnamon. The entryway opened into a living room that was exactly what you'd expect from a family with young children. Toys in a basket in the corner, a sectional sofa with mismatched throw pillows, a coffee table with coloring books and crayons scattered across it. Family photos covered the walls, more evidence of the life I'd lost. "I know it's a lot," Daniel said quietly, watching my face. "We can take it slow. You don't have to see everything today." But Sam was already tugging on my hand. "Come see your studio, Mommy. Daddy didn't let anyone go in there. He said it had to stay exactly how you left it." She pulled me through the living room, past a kitchen where I could see more signs of family life, kids' artwork on the refrigerator, a chore chart, a coffee maker that looked well used. Then up a staircase with framed photos on every step. At the top of the stairs, Sam led me to a closed door. She opened it reverently, like she was revealing something sacred. The room beyond was bathed in afternoon light from a large window. There was a desk covered in sketches and design mock-ups, a computer with a large monitor, shelves filled with art books and supplies, and everywhere, evidence of my life. A coffee mug with lipstick marks still on the rim, a sweater draped over the chair, a calendar on the wall with appointments I'd never keep. "This is where you work," Sam said. "You make really pretty designs. You made the logo for my school's fall festival. Everyone said it was the best one they'd ever had." I walked slowly into the room, running my fingers over the desk, the sketches. The handwriting on them was mine. I recognized it from the journals I'd kept as a teenager. But the style, the confidence in the lines, the sophisticated color choices, this was the work of someone with years of experience, someone I used to be. "Do you like it?" Sam asked anxiously. "Does it help you remember?" I looked at this child, my daughter, with her hopeful eyes and her desperate need for her mother to come back. And I wanted so badly to give her what she needed. To say, "Yes, it's all coming back. I remember everything now." But I couldn't lie to her. "I don't remember it," I said gently, crouching down to her level. "But I can see that I loved this room. I can see that I was happy here. And maybe that's a start." Sam's face fell. "I thought coming home would fix you." "I'm not broken, sweetie," I said, even though I wasn't sure I believed it. "I'm just lost. And your dad, and you, and Ollie, you're all helping me find my way back." "What if you never find your way back?" she whispered, and the fear in her voice broke my heart. "Then I'll find a new way," I said. "Maybe not the same path as before, but a path that leads to you, to this family, to this life, okay?" She nodded, but I could see she didn't really understand. How could she? She was 7 years old. Her mother had gone to sleep and woken up as a stranger. No child should have to navigate that kind of loss. That night, after we'd ordered pizza for dinner, "You usually cook on Fridays," Daniel had explained, "but I think we can make an exception." After we'd eaten at the kitchen table, like Sam telling elaborate stories about school, and Ollie spilling juice twice, after we'd done bath time and bedtime routines that Daniel walked me through step by step, I found myself standing in the master bedroom, staring at a bed I didn't remember buying. "I can sleep in the guest room," Daniel said from behind me. "I have been, actually, since the accident. I couldn't sleep in here without you." I turned to look at him. "This is your room, too. Your house. I can't kick you out of your own bed." "You're not kicking me out. I'm offering. Megan, I know this is all overwhelming. I don't want you to feel pressured or uncomfortable. We can take this at whatever pace you need." I looked at this man, my husband, who'd spent 2 weeks at my hospital bedside, who'd brought me photo albums and told me stories of our life, who'd held me while I cried for a past I couldn't remember, who was offering to sleep in a guest room in his own house so I wouldn't feel uncomfortable. Stay, I said, please. I know we're basically strangers right now, but you're the only thing that feels even remotely familiar. Does that make sense? Yeah, he said softly. Yeah, it makes sense. So we got ready for bed in awkward silence. Daniel changing in the bathroom, me changing in the bedroom, both of us trying to give each other privacy while occupying the same space. When we finally lay down, there was a careful distance between us. Miles of mattress separating two people who'd presumably slept tangled together for years. Daniel, I said into the darkness. Yeah? Thank you. For being patient with me, for not giving up. I heard him shift, turning toward me, though I couldn't see him in the dark. Megan, he said, and his voice was thick with emotion. I waited 2 weeks, not knowing if you'd ever wake up. I can wait however long it takes for you to find your way back to us. To me. I'm not going anywhere. I reached out across the distance between us, my hand searching in the darkness until it found his. Our fingers intertwined, and I held on like he was an anchor in a storm. I'm scared, I whispered. Me too, he admitted. But we'll figure it out, together. And lying there in the darkness, in a bed I didn't remember, in a house I didn't recognize, holding hands with a man who was both a stranger and my husband, I felt something I hadn't felt since waking up. I felt like maybe, just maybe, I could do this. Maybe I could find my way home.
The first morning in my own home, I woke up disoriented and alone. Daniel's side of the bed was empty, the sheets cool. For a moment, panic seized me. Where was I? What was happening? Then memory, recent memory at least, flooded back. The hospital, the accident, the amnesia, the family I didn't remember, the life I was supposed to reclaim. I could hear sounds from downstairs, voices, the clatter of dishes, the smell of coffee, and something burning. Toast, maybe? I got up slowly, my body still not quite feeling like my own, and padded to the bathroom. The moment I flicked on the light and saw myself in the mirror, I froze. I'd seen myself in the hospital, of course, but hospital mirrors are small and utilitarian. This was a full bathroom mirror, and in the morning light, I could really see myself for the first time. The face looking back at me was mine, but not. It was older, obviously, 10 years older than the last time I'd really looked at myself and really recognized my own reflection. There were fine lines around my eyes, a few silver strands in my hair, a small scar on my forehead from the accident. But it was more than that. There was something in the eyes, in the set of the jaw, in the way I held myself. This woman had lived. She'd experienced joy and pain, triumph and failure. She'd given birth. She'd raised children. She'd built a life. And I didn't know her. I touched my face, watching the reflection mirror my movements. Who are you? I thought. Who did you become? Mommy, Ollie's voice echoed up the stairs. Daddy made pancakes. They're a little bit burned. I heard Daniel's laugh, warm and slightly embarrassed. They're not burned, buddy. They're well done. That's what burned means, Sam's voice chimed in, and I could hear the eye roll in her tone. A family. My family. Downstairs, waiting for me. Expecting me to be someone I wasn't sure I knew how to be. I splashed water on my face, brushed my teeth with a toothbrush that was apparently mine, and got dressed in clothes from a closet I didn't remember filling. Everything fit, which was somehow both comforting and disturbing. This body was mine. These clothes were mine, but they felt like a costume. When I made my way downstairs, I found organized chaos. Sam was setting the table with exaggerated care, her tongue poking out in concentration. Ollie was in his booster seat, already covered in syrup despite not having started eating yet. And Daniel was at the stove, flipping pancakes with the determined focus of someone who was not naturally gifted in the kitchen, but was trying his best. Morning, he said, glancing over his shoulder with a smile that was equal parts hopeful and nervous. I hope you're hungry. Ollie requested chocolate chip pancakes, so that's what we're having. Fair warning, I may
may have been a bit heavy-handed with the chips. That's okay, I said, moving into the kitchen. I like chocolate chips. You always say they're too sweet for breakfast, Sam informed me matter-of-factly. You usually just have coffee and toast. I paused, caught off guard. Oh, well, maybe I'll try something different today. Sam frowned, and I could see the wheels turning in her 7-year-old brain. Every deviation from what I usually did was evidence that I wasn't really her mother. Not the mother she remembered, anyway. Daniel caught my eye and gave me an encouraging nod. Different is good sometimes, he said lightly. Right, Em? She shrugged, unconvinced, and went back to arranging forks with military precision. Breakfast was an exercise in observation. I watched how Daniel cut Ollie's pancakes into small pieces without being asked. How Sam ate around the chocolate chips, saving them for last. How Daniel drank his coffee black, while mine apparently required cream and 2 sugars, information he provided without me having to ask. So, Daniel said, attempting casual conversation, I was thinking maybe we could take it easy today. No big plans. Maybe just hang around the house, let you get familiar with everything. The kids have been wanting to show you their rooms properly. I showed her my room yesterday, protested Sam. You showed her clean room, Daniel corrected with a smile. Give it a few hours and it'll be back to normal. Then it'll really feel authentic. Despite everything, I found myself smiling. There was something comfortable about this banter, this easy family dynamic. Even if I couldn't remember being part of it, I could see how it worked, how these people fit together. Mommy, want to see my trucks after breakfast? Ollie has 17. Daddy counted. I'd love to, I said, and meant it. Ollie was easier somehow. He was young enough that he didn't have years of complex memories of me. His needs were simple: attention, play, and love. I could do that, even if I couldn't remember doing it before. Sam was harder. She watched me with those hazel eyes, my eyes, cataloging every difference, every moment where I didn't act like the mother she'd known, not the mother she remembered anyway. I could see the disappointment accumulating, and it broke my heart. After breakfast, Daniel cleared the dishes while I followed Ollie to his room. It was exactly what you'd expect from a 4-year-old boy. Toys everywhere, superhero posters on the walls, and a small bed with a dinosaur comforter. This is my collection, Ollie announced proudly, gesturing to a shelf lined with toy trucks of various sizes and colors. This one is Lightning. He's the fastest. This one is Big Red. He's the strongest. This one is Tiny. He's actually not tiny. That's just his name because it's funny. I sat on the floor, and Ollie immediately climbed into my lap, truck in hand, and began narrating an elaborate story involving a race, a rescue mission, and a dinosaur, because why not? And as I sat there, his small, warm body pressed against mine, his voice animated and excited, something shifted inside me. I didn't remember him. I didn't remember giving birth to him, or his first steps, or any of the thousands of moments that had led to this one. But in this moment, I felt it. That fierce, protective love that parents talk about. That instinct that said, this child is mine, and I would do anything to keep him safe and happy. Maybe love wasn't just about memory. Maybe it was about choice, about presence, about showing up, even when everything felt foreign and frightening. Mommy, Ollie said, pausing his story to look up at me, are you sad? I realized there were tears on my cheeks. No, baby, I'm not sad. I'm happy to be here with you. Even though you don't remember me? The question was so simple, so direct, in the way only a child could be. Even though I don't remember you, I confirmed, because I'm getting to know you now, and you're pretty great. He considered this, then nodded, satisfied. You're pretty great too, even if you're different now. Different how? I asked, curious. You're more quiet, he said, and you look at things longer, like you're trying to figure them out. But you still smell the same, like flowers and that zest you put in your hair.
I lifted a strand of my hair to my nose. Lavender. My shampoo smelled like lavender. Such a small detail, but it felt like a clue, a piece of the puzzle of who I'd been. Ollie? Daniel's voice came from the doorway. Why don't you let Mom take a break? Maybe go play in the backyard for a bit. Okay.
Ollie scrambled up, trucks forgotten, and thundered down the stairs. Daniel came into the room, settling on the floor beside me. You okay? I don't know, I admitted. I keep having these moments where I feel something, some connection, some emotion that feels real. But then I remember that I don't actually remember any of this, and it feels like I'm pretending, like I'm an imposter in someone else's life. You're not an imposter, Daniel said firmly. You're Megan. Maybe not the exact same Megan as before, but you're still you. The core of who you are. That doesn't just disappear because you can't access certain memories. How do you know? I asked. How do you know I'm still the same person? He was quiet for a moment, thinking. Because of the little things. The way you tilt your head when you're listening. The way you tuck your hair when you're nervous. The way you smiled at Ollie just now. That was the same smile you've always had when you look at our kids. Your memories might be gone, Megan, but you're still in there. I wanted to believe him. God, I wanted to believe that I was still myself, that I hadn't lost everything in that accident. Tell me more, I said. Tell me more about who I am and who I was. Help me understand. Daniel smiled, sad but willing. Okay, let's see. You hate mornings. You're absolutely not a morning person. You set 3 alarms and hit snooze on all of them. I usually have to bribe you out of bed with coffee. I laughed despite myself. That sounds about right. I remember hating mornings when I was 24. Some things never change, he said with a grin. You're also incredibly organized about some things and completely chaotic about others. Your studio is immaculate. Everything has its place. But your car? Total disaster. I found a French fry under the seat that I'm pretty sure was from 2023. That's disgusting. That's you, he said affectionately. You're also terrible at keeping plants alive. You try, you really do, but we've gone through probably 15 succulents in the past few years. You always feel guilty when they die. You apologize to them. I apologize to dead plants? You apologize for everything. You once apologized to a door for closing it too hard. You're very empathetic, sometimes too empathetic. You cry at those Megan McLaughlin animal shelter commercials. We can't watch them anymore. I was building a picture of myself through his words. A woman who was kind, creative, messy in some ways, and organized in others. A woman who loved deeply and felt everything intensely. What about us? I asked quietly. Tell me about us. How did we meet? Daniel's face softened, and I could see him traveling back through memory. Coffee shop. Total cliché. You were working on your laptop, and I accidentally bumped your table and spilled your latte all over your keyboard. Oh no. Oh yes, you were furious, absolutely livid. Your laptop survived, thankfully, but you let me have it. You told me I needed to watch where I was going, that I'd almost destroyed months of work. I felt terrible. I offered to buy you a new laptop if yours was damaged, a new coffee, or whatever you needed. And then you fell in love with me? I asked skeptically. Not quite, he laughed. You told me the best thing I could do was leave you alone. So I did. But I came back the next day, same time, hoping you'd be there. You were. I brought you a coffee, I'd asked the barista what you usually ordered, and a new keyboard, just in case. You were surprised. You said most guys would have just given up after being yelled at. But you didn't. I couldn't, he said simply. There was something about you. Even angry and covered in coffee, you were magnetic. So I asked if I could sit with you. You said yes. We talked for 3 hours. I missed a meeting. You missed a deadline. Neither of us cared. I tried to imagine it. That first meeting, that instant connection. What did we talk about? Everything. Nothing. You told me about your dreams of starting your own design firm someday. I told you about my job in software development and how I was thinking of quitting to do something more meaningful. You said life was too short to be unhappy. I said you were right. We just clicked. When did you know, I asked, that you loved me? Daniel was quiet for a long moment. 3rd date. We went to this art museum, your choice. You spent 20 minutes in front of this one painting, just staring at it. I asked what you saw, and you told me about the colors, the brush strokes, the emotion the artist was trying to convey. You made me see it differently. You made me see everything differently. And I thought, I want to see the world through her eyes for the rest of my life. Tears were sliding down my cheeks again. That's beautiful. You're beautiful, he said softly. You were then, and you are now, memory or no memory. I looked at this man, my husband, who was telling me our love story like it was a fairy tale. And maybe it was. Maybe we'd had something special, something worth fighting for. I want to remember, I whispered. I want to remember falling in love with you. I want to remember our wedding and Sam being born and all of it. I want those memories back. I know, Daniel said, and his voice was thick with emotion. I want that too. But Megan, even if you never remember, we can make new memories. We can fall in love again. It won't be the same, but maybe it can be just as good. Maybe it can be even better, because we'll be choosing it consciously every day. How can you be so sure? I asked. How can you be so patient, so understanding? Aren't you angry? Don't you resent me for not remembering? Angry at what? At you? For something that's not your fault? He shook his head. Megan, you almost died. You were in a coma for 3 weeks. I sat by your bed every single day, wondering if you'd ever wake up, if I'd ever hear your voice again. And now you're here. You're alive. You're talking to us, laughing with our kids, trying so hard to find your way back to us. How could I be anything but grateful? I couldn't speak. I just reached out and pulled him into a hug, awkward and uncertain, but real. And as he wrapped his arms around me, holding me like I was precious and breakable and strong all at once, I felt something bloom in my chest. Not memory, not yet, but maybe the beginning of love.
The next few days fell into a rhythm. Mornings with the kids, breakfast chaos, getting Sam ready for school, playing with Ollie. Afternoons when Daniel worked from home in his office, and I explored the house, trying to find myself in the accumulated possessions of a decade. Evenings with family dinners and bedtime routines that were slowly becoming familiar. But it was the quiet moments that mattered most. The moments when it was just Daniel and me, trying to bridge the gap between strangers and spouses. On Thursday morning, after we dropped Sam at school, Daniel suggested we go to our coffee shop, the one where we apparently went every Saturday morning. I know it's not Saturday, he said, but I thought maybe being there would help, or at least give us a chance to talk without little ears listening. Ollie was at his grandmother's house for the morning, Daniel's mother, who I'd met briefly and who'd cried when she saw me, telling me how grateful she was that I was okay. Another relationship I didn't remember, another person I'd have to get to know all over again. The coffee shop was called Brewhaven, and the moment we walked in, a barista behind the counter looked up and smiled. Megan! Oh my God, Megan! She came around the counter, then stopped, uncertain. Is it okay if I hug you? Daniel told us about everything. I looked at this woman, mid-20s, purple hair, nose ring, genuine warmth in her eyes, and had no idea who she was. Sure, I said, and she pulled me into a careful hug. I'm so glad you're okay, she said. We were all so worried. I'm Jade, by the way. I don't know if you remember me. I'm sorry, I said. I don't, but it's nice to meet you, again. Jade's smile was understanding. No worries, we'll just start over. Your usual? I looked helplessly at Daniel. Large vanilla latte with an extra shot, he supplied, and a blueberry scone. Coming right up. Daniel, your usual black coffee and nothing else because you're boring. That's me, Daniel said with a grin. Boring and predictable. We settled at a table by the window. Our table, Daniel informed me. And I looked around, trying to absorb it all. The exposed brick walls, the mismatched furniture, the local art hanging on the walls, the smell of coffee and fresh pastries. We've been coming here for 6 years, Daniel said, since before Sam was born. It was one of the first places we went after we moved to this neighborhood. You said it felt like home. It's nice, I said. Cozy. You always sat facing the window. You said you liked to people watch, to imagine their stories. You'd make up elaborate backstories for random strangers walking by. I looked out the window at the people passing by. A woman in a business suit walking quickly, a man with a dog, a teenager on a skateboard. Like that woman, I said, gesturing. She's late for an important meeting. She spilled coffee on her first outfit and had to change. She's worried her boss will notice she's wearing the same shoes as yesterday.
Daniel's face lit up. Yes, exactly like that. You always did that. You'd create these whole narratives. It's not memory, I said quickly, not wanting him to get his hopes up. It's just observation, making up stories. I know, he said, but it's still you. That's still who you are. Jade brought our drinks, and I wrapped my hands around the warm cup, inhaling the vanilla scent. I took a sip, and something in my brain sparked. Not a memory, exactly, but a sense of rightness. This taste was familiar in a way I couldn't explain. Good? Daniel asked, watching me carefully. Yeah, I said. Really good. Did I always order this? For the past 3 years. Before that, you switched around a lot. You said you finally found your perfect drink, and why mess with perfection? We sat in comfortable silence for a moment, sipping our drinks. Then Daniel pulled out his phone. I made something, he said, a little nervously. I wasn't sure if it would help or if it would be too much, but I made a playlist of songs that were important to us. Our wedding song, the song that was playing when I proposed, songs from road trips, and songs you sang to the kids. I thought maybe music might trigger something. He handed me one earbud, keeping the other for himself. The gesture was so intimate, sharing music, connected by a thin wire, that it made my chest ache. The first song started playing, an acoustic guitar, a male voice, and lyrics about finding home in another person. This was our wedding song, Daniel said softly. We had our first dance to this. You cried, happy tears, you said. You told me you'd never been so sure of anything in your life. I closed my eyes listening. The song was beautiful, romantic, and perfect for a wedding, but it didn't trigger anything. No flash of memory, no sudden recognition. I'm sorry, I whispered. Don't be, Daniel said. Just listen, just be here with me. So I did, song after song, each with its own story that Daniel narrated quietly. The song from our honeymoon, the song I'd sung to Sam when she was a colicky newborn, the song that had played on the radio during a road trip when we'd gotten lost and ended up having an adventure. This one, Daniel said, as a new song started, this one you played on repeat when you were pregnant with Ollie. You said it made you feel hopeful. You'd put headphones on your belly and play it for him. The song was gentle and optimistic, and about new beginnings and endless possibilities. And as I listened, I felt tears sliding down my cheeks again. I'm not crying because I remember, I said, needing him to understand. I'm crying because I don't. Because all these beautiful moments happened, and I can't access them. It's like someone told me I won a lottery, but lost the ticket. I know something wonderful was mine, but I can't claim it. Daniel reached across the table and put my hand. Then we'll create new moments, new songs, new memories. Megan, I know this is hard. I know you feel like you're supposed to be someone you can't remember being. But you don't have to be her. You can be you, whoever you are right now, and that's enough.
How can it be enough? I asked. How can I be enough when I'm not the woman you married? When I'm not the mother Sam remembers? When I'm just this confused, lost version of myself? Because, Daniel said, his voice intense, the woman I married was also confused and lost sometimes. She had doubts. She had fears. She had days where she felt like she was failing at everything. But she kept showing up. She kept trying. And that's what you're doing now. You're showing up. You're trying. That's all any of us can do. I looked at him, really looked at him. This man who'd committed his life to me, who'd built a family with me, who was now fighting to help me find my way back to a life I couldn't remember. Tell me about the proposal, I said. I want to know how you asked me to marry you. Daniel's face softened, and I could see him traveling back through memory. It wasn't fancy. I'd planned this elaborate thing. Dinner at a nice restaurant, rose petals, the whole cliché. But then the day came, and I had the ring in my pocket, and we were just at home. You were in your pajamas working on a design project. Your hair was in a messy bun. You only wore them when you were working late. And you were so focused, so beautiful, so perfectly you. And I just thought, this is it. This is the moment. Not some staged perfect proposal. Just us, in our normal life, being ourselves. So I got down on one knee right there in the living room. You didn't even notice at first. You were so absorbed in your work. I had to say your name 3 times. I smiled despite my tears. What did you say? I said, Megan, I don't want to wait for the perfect moment because every moment with you is perfect. I don't want to make this fancy because what we have is better than fancy. It's real. Will you marry me? And what did I say? You took off your glasses. You looked at me like you couldn't believe what was happening. And then you said, you're proposing to me while I'm in my ratty pajamas with pizza sauce on my shirt? Daniel laughed at the memory. And I said, I'm proposing to you exactly as you are. And you said yes. You said yes, and you cried, and you kissed me, and we stayed up all night talking about our future. That sounds perfect, I whispered. It was, Daniel said. It was perfectly us, not a fairy tale, just real. That's what I loved about you, about us. We were never trying to be some perfect couple. We were just trying to be honest and present and kind to each other. I want that, I said suddenly. I want to be that again. I want to be honest and present. I want to try. You are trying, Daniel said. Megan, you're doing better than you think. Sam's warming up to you. Did you notice she let you braid her hair yesterday without arguing? And Ollie follows you everywhere. And me? I'm falling in love with you all over again. My breath caught. Daniel. I know it's too soon to say that, he said quickly. I know you're not there yet, and that's okay. I'm not trying to pressure you. I just want you to know that I see you. I see you trying. I see you being brave even when you're terrified. And I'm here. However long it takes, I'm here. I didn't know what to say. This man was offering me unconditional love, unconditional patience, and unconditional support. And I didn't feel like I deserved any of it. But maybe that was the point. Maybe love wasn't about deserving. Maybe it was about accepting, about receiving, about allowing yourself to be seen and loved even when you felt broken. Can I ask you something? I said. Anything. Are you scared that I'll never remember, that I'll never be the woman you fell in love with? Daniel was quiet for a long moment. Honestly, yes, I'm terrified. I'm terrified that you'll never remember our wedding day, or the day Sam was born, or the 1,000 little moments that made us, us. I'm terrified that you'll look at me forever as a stranger. I'm terrified that I've lost the person who knew me better than anyone. But, he continued, I'm more terrified of not trying, of giving up, of losing you completely. So yeah, I'm scared, but I'm also hopeful, because you're still here. You're still you, somewhere in there. And even if you never remember, even if we have to start completely over, I'd rather build a new life with you than have a perfect memory of the old one without you in it. I stood up abruptly, my chair scraping against the floor. Daniel looked startled, worried he'd said too much. But I walked around the table and did something that felt both foreign and completely natural. I kissed him. It wasn't a passionate kiss. It wasn't the kiss of a wife who'd been married for 8 years. It was tentative, uncertain, a question more than an answer. But it was a beginning. When I pulled back, Daniel's eyes were shining with tears. What was that for? He asked softly. For being patient, I said. For being kind. For being you. For making me want to try. Megan, I can't promise I'll remember, I said. I can't promise I'll be the woman you married, but I can promise I'll try. I'll try to be present. I'll try to be honest. I'll try to build something new with you, even if I can't remember what we had before. Daniel stood and pulled me into a hug, holding me tight. That's all I need, he whispered into my hair. That's more than enough. And standing there in that coffee shop, in the arms of a man who was both a stranger and my husband, I felt something shift. Not memory returning, but something else. Something new. Hope. The real test came with Sam. While Ollie had accepted my changed state with the easy adaptability of a 4-year-old, Sam was struggling. She was old enough to remember me clearly,
old enough to notice every difference, every moment where I didn't act like the mother she'd known. And she was angry about it. It came to a head on Friday afternoon. I'd picked her up from school. Daniel had walked me through the pickup routine, the specific spot where I always parked, and the way Sam always came out holding her best friend Sophia's hand. But when Sam saw me waiting, her face fell. For just a moment, I saw the hope in her eyes. Hope that maybe today I'd be back to normal, that maybe the mother she remembered would be standing there. And then the disappointment when she realized it was still me, still this stranger wearing her mother's face. "Hi, sweetie," I said, forcing brightness into my voice. "How was school?" "Fine," she said shortly, not meeting my eyes. The drive home was silent except for my attempts at conversation, each one meeting a wall of monosyllabic responses. By the time we got home, I could feel my own frustration building. I was trying so hard. Why couldn't she see that? But of course, she was 7. She didn't want effort. She wanted her mom. Once inside, Sam dropped her backpack by the door and headed straight for the stairs. "Sam," I called after her, "don't you have homework?" She stopped and turned, and I saw something flash in her eyes. "How do you know I have homework? You don't remember anything about me." The words hit like a slap. "Your dad told me that you usually have homework on Fridays." "Of course he did," Sam said bitterly. "He tells you everything because you don't know anything. You don't know that I hate math homework. You don't know that I always do my reading first because it's easier. You don't know that you always make me a snack and sit with me and help me when I get stuck. You don't know anything about me." Her voice had risen to a shout, and I heard Daniel's office door open upstairs. "Sam," I said, trying to keep my voice calm even as my heart raced, "you're right. I don't remember those things, but I want to know them. I want to learn. I don't want you to learn," Sam cried, and now there were tears streaming down her face. "I want you to remember. I want my real mom back. I want the mom who knows me, who doesn't have to be told everything, who doesn't look at me like I'm a stranger." "Sam, that's enough," Daniel said, coming down the stairs. But Sam wasn't done. "It's not fair," she sobbed. "Everyone says I should be patient, that I should give you time, that I should be understanding. But I'm just a kid. I don't want to be patient. I want my mom. I want things to be normal again." She ran up the stairs, and a moment later, we heard her bedroom door slam. I stood frozen in the entryway, Sam's words echoing in my head. I felt like I'd been hollowed out, like someone had reached into my chest and pulled out everything vital. "She didn't mean it," Daniel said, moving toward me. "She did mean it," I interrupted, my voice flat. "And she's right. I'm not her real mom. I'm just someone who looks like her mom, who lives in her mom's house, who's trying to play a role I don't know how to play." "Megan." "I don't know how to do this, Daniel," I said, and I could hear the panic rising in my voice. "I don't know how to be a mother to a child who resents me for not remembering her. Every time I look at her, I see the disappointment in her eyes. Every time I try to connect with her, I say the wrong thing or do the wrong thing because I don't have the history. I don't have the context. How am I supposed to parent a child I don't remember giving birth to?" Daniel pulled me into his arms, and I let myself break down. All the fear, all the frustration, and all the grief for a life I couldn't remember came pouring out in harsh, ugly sobs. "I know," Daniel murmured into my hair. "I know it's hard. I know it feels impossible. But Megan, you're not giving yourself enough credit. You're doing better than you think." "How can you say that?" I choked out. "Your daughter just told me she wants her real mom back. That's not doing better. That's failing." "No," Daniel said firmly, pulling back to look at me. "That's Sam being 7 years old and dealing with something incredibly difficult in the only way she knows how. She's scared, Megan. She's scared that you'll never come back, that this is permanent. And she's taking that fear out on you because you're safe. Because even though she's angry, even though she's hurt, some part of her knows you're still her mom." I wanted to believe him, but all I could hear was Sam's voice. "I want my real mom back." "Let me talk to her," Daniel said, "and then maybe you should try. Not as the mom she remembers, but as the person you are now. Be honest with her. Kids can handle honesty better than we think. He went upstairs, and I heard the murmur of voices from Sam's room. I couldn't make out the words, but I could hear the tone. Daniel's calm and soothing, Sam's tearful and upset. I made a snack on autopilot, apple slices and peanut butter, because Daniel had mentioned it was Sam's favorite. I arranged them on a plate, and then I stood at the bottom of the stairs, gathering my courage. I could do this. I could face a 7-year-old's anger and hurt. I could try. I climbed the stairs slowly and knocked softly on Sam's door. "Come in," came a small voice. Sam was sitting on her bed, surrounded by stuffed animals. Her eyes were red and puffy from crying. Daniel was sitting beside her, and he gave me an encouraging nod before standing.
"I'll give you two some time," he said, squeezing Sam's shoulder as he left. I stood awkwardly in the doorway, holding the plate of snacks. "I brought you a snack. Your dad said you like apple slices and peanut butter." Sam didn't respond, just looked at the plate with an expression I couldn't read. I moved into the room and sat on the edge of her bed, careful to leave space between us. "Sam, I want to talk to you, really talk. Is that okay?" She shrugged, which I took as permission to continue. "You're right," I said, "about everything you said downstairs. I don't remember you. I don't remember the day you were born, or your first steps, or any of the thousands of moments we've shared. I don't remember being your mom." Sam's face crumpled, and I hurried to continue. "But that doesn't mean I'm not your mom. It doesn't mean I don't care about you. Sam, I look at you, and even though I can't remember our history, I feel something strong and fierce and protective. I look at you and I think, that's my daughter, that's my girl. Even without memory, I know that." "But it's not the same," Sam whispered. "You don't know me." "You're right. I don't know you the way I should. I don't know your favorite color or your favorite food or what makes you laugh. I don't know your fears or your dreams or the things that make you special." I paused, gathering my courage. "But I want to. Will you teach me?" Sam looked up at me, surprise flickering across her face. "Teach you?" "Yeah, teach me who you are. Not who you were when I remembered you, but who you are right now. Tell me about yourself. Help me get to know you. We can start over, you and me, like we're meeting for the first time." "But you're my mom," Sam said, confused. "Moms are supposed to already know everything." "Maybe," I said, "but I'm a mom who lost her memories. So I need help. I need you to be patient with me while I learn. And I know that's not fair. I know you're just a kid, and you shouldn't have to teach your own mom who you are. But Sam, I'm trying. I'm trying so hard to be what you need, but I can't do it without your help." Sam was quiet for a long moment. Then, in a small voice, she said, "My favorite color is purple. Not light purple, dark purple, like the color of grapes." My heart swelled. Dark purple, like grapes. Got it. What else? "I like reading more than math. Math is hard, and it makes my brain hurt. But I like stories, especially ones about magic." "Magic stories," I repeated. "Do you have a favorite?" "I like the ones you—" She stopped and corrected herself. "The ones we used to read together, about the girl who finds out she's a witch." "Will you show me?" I asked. "Maybe we could read it together. You could show me why you love it." Sam hesitated, then climbed off the bed and went to her bookshelf. She pulled out a well-worn book and brought it back, settling a little closer to me this time. "This is Matilda," she said. "It's about a girl who has magic powers and loves to read. You always said she reminded you of me." I took the book carefully, like it was precious. Then she must be pretty special. "She is," Sam said. "She's brave and smart, and she doesn't let mean people make her feel small." "Like you," I said. Sam looked up at me, and for the first time since I'd woken up, I saw something other than disappointment in her eyes. I saw possibility. "Can we read it?" she asked. "Right now?" "I would love that," I said. So we did. I read aloud while Sam followed along, occasionally correcting my pronunciation or adding commentary. "This is the part where it gets really good. This character is the worst, you'll see." And slowly, page by page, we began to build something.
Not a memory of what we'd had before, but something new, something fragile and tentative, but real. When Daniel came to check on us an hour later, he found us still reading, Sam now leaning against my shoulder, my arm around her. He didn't say anything, just smiled and quietly closed the door. And I thought, maybe this is how we do it. Maybe we don't try to recreate what was lost. Maybe we just start where we are and build something new. One story at a time, one moment at a time, one small connection at a time. Please check the description for the continuation of my journey.